Janice, are you there?
At your service, sir.
What do we have today?
Professional explains why married men come to see her.
So I get like sort of, it is like a little anecdotal here. But the general sense that I got was that most of them had wives that weren't interested in them anymore.
Sex worker explains why married men come to see her. Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Unherd had an interesting live stream about the effects of the sexual revolution featuring Louise Perry. She was kind of debating a sex worker. The reason why I'm saying kind of is because the sex worker mostly agreed with the arguments Louise Perry made. The link to the hour-long video is in the description, and we're gonna highlight the part where the pro explains why married men come to see her. Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do, because we men, ain't we? She.
I think that this is also true for like the polyamory monogamy distinction. Like you're correct in that like a lot of polyamory discussions are talking about like what jealousy issues, but like monogamy also has like dead bedroom problems, right? Like both are relationship structures that require some sort of like negotiation of your desires and what you can achieve in your life. And both of them have like pretty severe downsides. And as a sex worker, I see a huge amount of the downsides in monogamy from men, supposedly monogamous men, who come see me because of failures in their monogamous relationships. Like it feels like my overall issue here feels like people are pointing a tighter laser eye at like the non-standard, non-normal, the deviant types of sexual approaches than they are at the conservative, socially accepted ones.
She's making a good point right here. Everything has its pros and cons. Monogamy has been the standard for decades, centuries, and for good reason. The bulk of these reasons were practical. It made sense. So if you deviate from this standard, the majority will naturally look at you funny. I wanted to highlight this part first because what the sex worker is going to explain in the next clip is gold when it comes to the downsides of marriage, monogamous relationships, and why someone would choose to deviate from the standard. We are living in different times, fellas. Keep this in mind.
So talking about your case specifically, Isla, you say there that you've got husbands coming who maybe their marriage has broken down. If you were not there to service the kind of the needs that they then had, do you think that they would turn back to their wives and have a frank conversation about their sex life? Or do you think that you are offering them a way out?
Now, before we let the sex worker answer, look at the way the question is asked. Our previous video was about robot companions. Why would a man prefer to be with a robot instead of a real woman? Why would a man get busy with a sex worker instead of his own wife? This completely takes away the responsibilities that women have when it comes to marriage and relationships in general, and puts all the blame on men. Like women don't have anything to do with it. We've exposed this many times on this channel and the manosphere in general, that it's women that prefer hookup culture, that it's women who don't want to get married, and it's women who initiate 70 to 80% of divorces. So now let's hear what the sex worker has to say.
Well, so my data set is basically, I would ask the guys that I saw, are you married? And if they said yes, then I would ask, so why are you seeing me? So I get like sort of, it is like a little anecdotal here. But the general sense that I got was that most of them had wives that weren't interested in them anymore. Basically wives that had like a bunch of kids or like were, had health issues, that basically just their sex drive was zero. And sometimes I would ask like, well, have you considered like bringing it up to her? Like, have you talked with her about it? And the majority of the responses I made, 60-70%, were like horror. They're like, I don't want to destroy my entire life. One like guy, it was common for guys to be like, if I bring it up with her, I think she would leave me.
Did you hear that, fellas? Men know that when married, it's cheaper to keep her. Women know that they are in a win-win situation when married. The man loses everything. That's why he has to think twice before having a conversation with a woman he knows will effort his spirit when he wants to talk about getting some punani. Janice.
A sexless marriage is a marriage in which there is little to no sexual activity between the partners. Some experts define sexless as falling anywhere between having no sex at all to fewer than 10 sexual encounters per year. Researchers estimate that 10 to 20% of North American marriages are completely sexless. It's difficult to estimate exactly how many happy low or no sex relationships are out there because experts only hear from dissatisfied people.
I've talked to guys that couldn't get sex from their long-term girlfriends, and I've seen a pattern with these guys. They were not going anywhere. It was clearly their girlfriends who were wearing the pants, so to speak. I would always bump heads with their girlfriends because I don't participate in their foolishness. And that's exactly why these guys keep quiet, because they know the consequences if they dare to open their mouths. This is exactly why Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, because he knew he had to go home after the Oscars. Let's take it a step further.
Doesn't that suggest that actually, if you weren't there to counsel them, that they might actually go and speak to their wives about it? That the point is that by allowing these kind of sexual avenues by which married men can go and find a kind of proxy sexual partner, that they don't have to confront the real emotional issues at the heart of their relationships.
Once again, the way the question is asked is from a perspective that the man has to solve the problem. Emotional issues. Women don't even understand their own emotions. We made a video about a life coach explaining why women file for divorce. And in that video, the divorce lawyer explains that 90% of his clients are women, and the majority of these women can't even explain why they are not happy. I disagree with that. I think women know exactly why they are not happy. But the answer to the question is not politically correct. And a lot of times, the solution to a woman's unhappiness is unrealistic. For example, the it girl that hit the wall became invisible to the world, including the Chads and Tyrones. Even though her husband still loves her, losing this attention creates this emptiness and makes her feel dead inside. So it doesn't matter what her husband does, she will never be that it girl again. Ayesha Curry mentioned that she wanted more male attention. And that was big news because what she said wasn't politically correct, especially when your husband is Steph Curry. There is nothing Steph Curry can do about this. You want to talk about it? Guess your wife is looking for an entanglement.
This is like possibly true to some degree, but like my intuition is not that this is the case. Like a lot of the men had been sexless for 10 years before finally trying to find a sex worker. Like most men don't feel great about the sex, like making their wife unhappy, like potentially to do this. Like it is pretty high cost. A lot of them are risking like damage to their life. Most guys I talked to, I got the impression that they had made at least some effort. Not some of them, no. I'm not going to say that every dude was like this. Some guys were like, I don't give a shit. Like our relationship is totally separate from this, and I'm just going to like fuck other people because that's what I want. Like I totally admit that there were some guys like this, but it was not the majority. In fact, I got the impression that seeing these men actually like probably helped save them from divorce, because like their other option was not talking to their wives. Their other option was leaving their wife because they couldn't talk to their wife. Right. So it was sort of like this safe, tiny outlet that allowed them to maintain longer, more dedicated relationships.
This is pure gold. These feminists tell the world that women were slaves, but it's the other way around. These laws prohibit men from doing whatever they want. Look at Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. This man was a prisoner of love, and he was guilty until proven innocent. If he wasn't famous, if he wasn't rich, if he didn't provide all of that evidence, he would endure the same fate as the majority average Joe. The feminist movement liberated men. We don't have to do this anymore. This is why men are opting out, because once you're in this mess, it's hard to get out of it. Prevention is better than cure. These women can decide on any given Sunday not to give you anything and have a problem when you get it somewhere else. The sex worker said she was dealing with men that didn't even sniff the punani for 10 years. Please give this man a sex worker for Christmas. And you know what? If your wife decides to get it somewhere else, you still have to pay for it. The judge will not punish her for not having sex with her husband, even if she is in perfect health. Now, what if you stop paying rent? Stop going to work just because you feel like it? Look what's gonna happen. Look if she's gonna stick around for another 5 minutes. Modern marriage is a joke. It has no benefits for men. One of the reasons men got married is because it would give them access to sex. If you can't get it from your own wife, where do you have to get it? That's where the sex worker comes in. The thoughts, the streetwalkers. In modern society, you don't need to get married to have sex. Feminists wanted this. I can understand why there are men out there that can't wait for these sex robots to take over.
Presumably their wives would have left them if they'd known, though. So this was a secret encounters.
Yeah.
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.